I drag my feet to the classroom, feeling so sorry for myself. I messed it up. I messed everything up. Thinking like this, I slam my fist on the desk, gritting my teeth. In doing so, I gather the attention of my friends. That's almost laughable. I don't know what to do now. Should I reclaim my spot in A class? If I do, will it change anything? Is there anything I can do? Is it even possible to get into a college, to have a life with something like that blasphemous photo being held over my head? Hey, Wyan, you feeling alright? Nakamura questions. Just fine, although my pissy tone suggests otherwise. I know she knows I'm lying, but I can't find the energy to care. I sit down and sling my book bag on top of my desk while Koro-sensei worms his way into the room to begin class. The delinquent that sits a seat away from me causes disruption as always. So many of my classmates talking. My head is spinning from Saturday's encounter. I've had a complete day to understand what happened, to figure out where I went wrong, and I still come up blank. Even if I say Asano and Akabane were working together from the beginning, how would Asano know when and where I'd planned to ambush Akabane? Much less enough ahead of time to warn him. Roll call goes over in a flash. I don't bother participating either. Koro-sensei texts me, saying that if my sportsmanship is bad, how will I be at a real job? I ignore him, waiting out his annoying jabs and pokes. He gets all sulky, and before I know it, half the day is gone and lunch has arrived, while Akabane remains absent and Yield still off the roster. Shiota offers to eat with me, but I decline. Kaino and Nakamura try to rope me in, and even Sujino brings his balls out to try and soften me enough to eat with them. It takes Okada and her quivering personality to finally convince me into eating lunch with a lot of them. She's just so meek. For her to find the courage and approach me, I can't let her walk away empty-handed. Why are you so mad today? Nakamura pushes. I don't feel like talking about it. My fist and jaw clench and sink as I try not to break my teeth. I look out the window, avoiding their all too curious gazes and questioning stares. I feel relief fill me when lunch ends and it's time for gym. We change out of our clothes and make it to the field, one way or another. We partner up again, and this time I get class president Isugai. He's kind of cute, nice, and respectful too. The complete opposite of Akabane, I notice for some reason. Anyone would be happy to be with him. I'm sure if he was in Akabane's stead, he'd delete that picture without any thought. Akabane might have let me go home Saturday, but I think back on my memory, the way he let go and the way the cold returned to my wrist. I unknowingly feel where his hand was just a day ago. Even still, I remind myself, if he was any bit the boy Isugai is, he would have deleted the picture and given me my freedom. Instead, he sits back and lets the devil do his bidding, without saying a word, and with that sickening expression on too. Isugai brings my attention back to the match, and I am again reminded of how different he and Akabane are. Akabane wouldn't have notified his opponent. He would have taken it as an opportunity and attacked my unconscious self as I dwelled on something from the past. It strikes me as something familiar because it's what I would do. It's not just Akabane who's different from Isugai. I sit somewhat happy and somewhat aghast at my discovery. The thought winds me back, and finally I lunge at him when I'm ready and my head back in the game. Going back and forth with endless stabs and punches, I get the upper hand as I knew I would. Guess my superiority complex hasn't left, and I pin him to the floor. He yields, and I offer my hand to help him get up. We dust ourselves off and take a break. We go to refill our water bottles and cool off a bit. It's still sunny, though more than half the day is gone. The sun is still out, and I'm a little thankful for it. Isugai says he's ready to start another match, so we head back down to the others. I gulp down more water and hold my stomach a little. I know I'm not supposed to drink so much water, otherwise I'll get a stomachache, but I can't help it. When I'm certain I'll be fine, I nod at Isugai and he hurls himself at me. I dodge most of his attacks, but he comes at me with his opposite arm, making my calculations useless. I'm not able to dodge it, and he uses the few seconds I've lost to push me down and press his knife against my neck. I inhale and exhale a few times, then breathe out my yield. I chuckle at his small smile. It's too adorable and innocent. We lock eyes and he lets me up. Just as I did before, he holds out his arm. Poor little Ickman. I latch my hand in his and yank him back down when he tries to pull me up. He comes propelling down and braces himself for the landing. I almost get crushed in the process, but it was definitely worth it. We roll around for a few seconds, then I push myself up into a sitting position. That was uncalled for. He follows me, sitting up as well. I shake my finger at him. You should know better, Ickman. The nickname catches him off guard, and I grin. A blush escaped him, making me smirk. I need water. I huff, throwing my head back and spreading out on the grass, closing my eyes in the process. I absolutely hate physical education. Isekai lets out a hard chuckle and stands up again. Come on, gym's over in a few minutes, he says, reaching out his hand for a second time. I open one eye and watch his hand curiously, then wave him off. I'll meet up with you all later. I just want to lie here for a while. You'll get itchy, he chides, and that'll be my problem to deal with. Now leave. I groan out, closing my eye again. He sighs, and somehow I just know he's shaking his head with his hand on his hips like a stay-at-home mom. The thought makes me smile incidentally, but then Koro-sensei wiggles around me, poking at me as if checking if I'm dead. I'm alive, if that's what you're wondering. Oh, Hwaeun. He sweats. You're awake? Stop being a creep and carry me back to the classroom, please. No, that would just be... Hey, that must be the notorious Koro-sensei. Wow, he really does look like an octopus. He sounds giddy in a way, but also astonished. I peek open one eye again and watch the encounter go down before me. The rest of the class watching from afar. Akabane strides down the hill as he speaks. He sure does love an entrance. Mr. Akabane, correct? I understand your suspension ends today. Suspension? That must have been why his name never came up in roll call. He's been suspended this whole time. The puzzle clicks in my head as I think of all the times I've tried to catch him off guard. It would also make sense that his grades are what they are if he's an E-class for his behavior rather than his ability to pay attention in class. I had the privilege of checking out his grade history while looking up his address. Didn't think to mention it to Asano though. Seemed useless. Might have been somewhat useful though, if we were able to blame Akabane for changing his grades, but if he were smart enough to hack into the system, like me, why change his grades when he could just earn them by doing the work? It sounds easier, but the firewall's principle Asano has on the school network security is amazing. I myself was almost unable to access it. Call me by my first name, Akabane says, bringing me back to the scene in front of me. He hasn't looked my way yet, at least not that I'm aware of, which leads me to believe he has no idea of my presence. Anyway, I've heard some good things about you, Teach. Nice to meet ya. He holds out his hand. The pleasure is all mine. Should be a fun and educational year. Blah blah blah, all this sappy stuff is going to drive me nuts. Where's the Akabane karma I know and hate for the love of all that's cruel? Koro-sensei reaches his hand out to shake Akabane's, then pop. It goes quiet as Akabane lunges at him with a knife. I'm surprised when I find myself grinning and thinking, there he is. Sensei obviously dodges the rest of his attacks, but still, this makes Akabane the first to be able to hurt him. Definitely not like Isekai at all. He's smart and cunning, and when he backs away from Koro-sensei after his little speech, turning to wink at me, I find that my heartbeat has picked up again, and I realize I've now got something new to fear.